Hey, welcome to the Dropship Podcast. And today we're bringing back a fan favorite, good niche, bad niche. Today, I think we actually have an interesting idea, one I've never looked into personally. I'm glad you brought it up, John, for today's show. Laser engraving machines. Talk to me about them, John. I don't think I've ever looked into this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't have any real familiarity with the machines themselves, but certainly something I looked into before, I think, and kind of fits into a broader category of products that I'm very interested in, and I think there is some great opportunities in, and that's products for people who make shit, right? So passion-based, hobby-based, enthusiast-based, whatever you want to call it. And there's lots of people out there who are making stuff out of wood, who are making stuff out of metal, who are putting together fabric and in different ways and doing all sorts of different creative pursuits, selling stuff on Etsy, down at their local markets, having some little small business based around this. And they need machines and things to do the making that they do. And that's kind of how I identify the makers. I think that's a fairly common internet term to describe these people as a group. So laser engraving, laser cutting machines kind of fit into that space. And, a laser engraver is a machine that helps you to engrave a design, letters, a design, some sort of art potentially into a material like metal or something like that. And so they're, the products themselves, I mean, they're a fairly techie looking product when you look at them. I guess maybe somehow, might be a bit reminiscent of a 3D printer or something like that. Similar probably sort of stuff going on there. I mean, obviously they don't do the same thing, but in terms of the size of the product and what they look like, and it would probably remind you a bit of that, Ben. Obviously you've got some familiarity there with the 3D printers. And yeah, I mean, price wise, I was just looking in Australia at what they're selling for here. You've got products ranging from sort of low $1,000 up to the $7,000 mark and everywhere in between. So, and that's just on the laser engraving machines. Like I say, I think there's a range of other machines that fit into this space as well. But yeah, totally, it's one of those ideas that I don't think anybody even knows they exist, right? Which to me always feels good when I'm doing like market research and I'm thinking up product ideas. I love coming across these ones where I'm like, I've been talking to hundreds, if not over 1,000 people about what products they're selling on dropshipping stores in the last 6 years. And when I hear ideas that I'm like, I literally can't remember somebody ever saying to me that they sell that or they're looking at selling that. I'm like, yeah, I got to go and check this out because, those ideas can sometimes be brilliant.
This is interesting. I want to make some comments, but at the same time, here's the thing. So I think in today's environment, and I'm going to go completely off the cuff here, John, totally different subject of like you read a newspaper article from a journalist about something you know nothing about, and you're like, oh, they're so smart, they must know everything. And then they finally like get to a piece about something and you're like, oh, these guys are dumb. They have no idea. There's another podcast I fancy. I think it's the number one business podcast. I'm pretty sure a lot of people listen to it, and they'll talk about business ideas, and I'll be like, oh, these are great. And then they'll talk about something I know, and they get it way wrong. And so like I feel like today is going to be that day. There's someone listening to this who knows a lot about laser engraving and laser cutting, and they're going to be like, wow, Ben is a real dum-dum when it comes to this, because I don't actually know anything about it. But it gets me excited nonetheless. I interviewed my friend Ben Katzman. He owned Wanderer bracelets, where he did a lot of laser engraving on bracelets that were coming over, that he was importing into the country from Bali, where he was like working with artisans. And so that's my only experience with them. And I never really sat there and thought, geez, could these be part of a business? But the more I look into it, you're right, John. Those numbers you said for Australian dollars, I'm seeing those for American dollars, like $1,000 up to $8,000 items here, with kind of a middle ground of $2,000. It does feel very 3D printery to me. So I owned the 3D printer guy back in the day. That was my first business. Fun story. I bought the domain back this week for shits and giggles. Nostalgia galore. It was fun. And I'm seeing some of my old competitors in the list of these shopping products, and so it feels very much like that. Like that, there's DIY versions, right? That there's these small versions of these things, and there's like the middle ground enough for someone, building a business out of their home or selling stuff on Etsy. And then there's the commercial end of it too. It feels like there's a wide variety of products. They're in a wonderful price range. And again, they're going to somebody that we like to target at Dropship Breakthru, like somebody, like whether you're into sports or fitness or creating or whatever you're into, like we want somebody who's passionate, and people who are buying these things are definitely passionate. They're creating, they might have their own business behind here, which is even cooler that you're supporting another business. I kind of like this. I wish I knew more about it. I wish I knew people doing it so I would know some more of the intricate details, but on the surface, I think I like it.
Yeah, I like it. And I was just pulled up some stats on the internet from Time magazine, which you might think is semi-reputable. There's some research done in the US. This is just a US-based statistic. Approximately 135 million US adults identify or would be considered makers, right, in some way. That's a huge market. As a proportion of a total population of whatever it is now, 360 million or something like that. That's a huge proportion of the adults in that country who are doing some form of this term making, right? And they're using products to do that. You don't make things from scratch, right? From thin air. You need stuff to do it. And so yes, not all of those things are going to be high ticket, but for sure there are going to be high ticket things. And then there's all these supporting products, right? So think about this, right? And I looked into doing this with, it's an example I've used in one of our Facebook groups before. I looked at helping somebody set up a business a couple of years ago, selling embroidery machines, right? So these are machines that do embroidery on some sort of, help you do it on scale, right? And they're multi-$1,000 machines. There's a bunch of brands. You can drop ship them, but when you look behind it, there's also specific furniture that people buy to put these machines on, right? And the furniture alone is also high ticket products. And, I looked at all of this, looked into this stuff with this person who I, at the time, was going away to do something about it. I don't know where they ended up on that, but some of the furniture, we called some brands, like 60% margins. On like an embroidery desk.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's like $2,000-$3,000 product, right? So, and nobody at that time was tapping it from a dropshipping perspective. I was just like, holy balls, you've totally got to go after this. So at that point for me, same thing, like somebody, laser engraving, whatever, they've probably got a workshop on their property, in their home, in their garage, in their shed, out the back of their property, whatever. There's going to be other stuff that's going to go into that you would be able to sell alongside. Like, do they need a workbench? Do they need storage? Like, there's just so much stuff when you think about it in this space, like ancillary products that are also high ticket or at least a decent price that you would be selling alongside these things. I mean, there's, I think you can let your mind run wild here. And then the other thing I love about it is the content and stuff that you can do around this, and like some of the things that you can offer. So like you're selling embroidery machines, you can get into like digital download space. Like, here's 150 embroidery designs that you can use today. But like, holy crap, man. It's the possibilities here with these sort of products is massive, I think, if you really think about it.
It's actually less search volume than I expected, but falls right in line with some other things that I've sold where I would feel good. I do think I might mix it. Like, again, I don't know enough about the who behind this. Who's the person behind that? Is there other products to mix in there? Again, I'm seeing a lot of my old, 3D printer competitors selling these as well. Is that the same type of audience? Again, makers, like you said. I feel like I don't know enough to comment, but there's a lot of good signs pointing towards this market for me when I'm looking at it. Simply just price alone. I think I get on too many calls with people thinking about coming to our course, or they've listened to our podcast for a while, and they pour some ideas at me that are either really saturated, right? There are a lot of ideas that we've told you on this podcast don't do, or they're just in no man's land. They're in that $200 to $800 price point where you're just going to struggle at profitability there. Whereas if you can start racking your brain for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 products that maybe you have a hard time digesting that they actually sell, but I promise you they sell. If they exist, they sell, and you're going to have a lot more fun selling a $5,000 product from which you take home, $1,000 to $2,000 profit at the end of the day than you're going to have selling a $500 product where you get, $10 to $20 at the end of the day. And it's just as easy to sell. Like, there's just as many people out there looking for those products as there is other products. And so this one feels kind of exciting to me.
Yeah, look, definitely. And if you're listening and this is one example. If you're listening and you want to find out how you can sort of jump in there and work out where these products are and how to find the right products, just head over to dropshipbreakthru.com/5. Take our 5-day challenge. It's $97. And at the end of that, you're going to come out with an idea. We'll actually verify it for you as well. So you can hop on at the end of that 5-day challenge. You get a 15-minute call with us where you're going to talk about, this is my idea. Is it a good one? And we're going to say, yeah, it is, or no, it's not. So definitely, if you're looking to answer this question for yourself, jump into that right now. But for me, laser engraving, anything in the maker space at the moment is a big thumbs up from John.
Especially if you're into it. For me, I know I'm on the other side where I want you to be passionate. If you're into this, awesome. Like, you should be out here selling this. If you speak the language that other makers, the other laser engravers are doing, get into this right now. This is for you.